CM 365, all about Carnatic music.
Keeravani as a Sampurna scale. I had already mentioned about this ragam, its lakshanam as handled by Sri Tyagarajar. Today we will look into one of the two janyas that he created in this ragam. I had made a mention about also this, that he created Kiranavali and Kalyana Vasantham from Keeravani. Of course, there are other names. When you see, you will see that there is a mention of other raga names. But since there are not any compositions in this, I am not mentioning. But Tyagaraja as such has composed in these two ragams, that is Kiranavali and Kalyana Vasantham. I have taken up this ragam Kalyana Vasantham specifically not because of the fact that of the Arona Krama, or that because it's a janya of Keeravani, but also to show how in his understanding, when there is the Panchama Varjya in the Arohana and the Panchama is there in the Avarohana, that Panchama actually has got a very small kind of significance in the whole context. That is, it does not become a Nyasa Swaram, we do not halt on it or we do not elaborate with the Panchama. And how he has handled a ragam, where in this particular ragam, for example, let's first look at the Arona to explain it further, like Sa ga ma da ni sa sa ni ga pa ma ga re sa. Even the Kala Pramana of the notes, you can see that you can sing it in a slightly, Vilamba type when you're going in the Arona Krama, like Sa ga ma da ni sa. The Avarona has to come like a waterfall. Sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. So where actually there is not too many haltings in the Avarohana as much as in the Arona way. We will look at the composition and further analyze on this, but the fact is how he has conceptualized the ragam here, giving the focus only on the Madhyama most of the time, and the Panchama, though it is there in the Avarohana, it comes like a gliding note only and is not given any importance as such in the whole context of Kalyana Vasantham. Let's look at a few lines of the Kalyana Vasantham composition Nada Lolade to understand it a better. Nada Lolade ma Brahmadha Brahmananda Mandave Manasa Nada Lolade Brahmananda Mandave Manasa. Or in the Anupallavi, Swaduphala Pradasapta Swara Raga Nijaya Sangeetha Nada Lolode. So how does he handle the ragam is first Sa Sa Ga Ga Ma. So the Ma here becomes a focal point. Well, coming back, then how does the Sancharas occur? It's like Ga Ma Da Ni Sa Da. So the Dha actually becomes the place for weaving out patterns. And then after that you see that in the moments coming down, after that it becomes like Sa Ni Da Pa Ma Ga Re Sa and lands only on the Sa. For example, Ma ga ma ga ri sa ni sa da ni sa ga ma ga ma da pa ma ga ri sa ni sa da ni sa ga ma ga ma da ni da pa ma ga ri sa ni sa da ni sa ga ma da ni sa da. So the Sada, though it's Sanida, this Sada is quite a beautiful phrase which comes here. Ga ma da ni sa da ma ga ri sa ga ma da ni sa da ni sa ga ri sa ni sa da. So the Da becomes a very important note while coming back. And as I said, though the Avarona incorporates the Panchama, it's like Sa ni sa da nida pa ba ga re sa. So the pa is again there, but it is not given its significant position. So whereas why I'm mentioning this here is that now the same pa, when it occurs as part of the Arohana and the Avarohana and the Kiravani, it becomes a very, very important note, like pa da ni da pa ni da pa ba ga ri ga ma pa pa da ni da pa da ni ri ni da pa pa ba ga ri ga ma pa da ni da pa ba ga ma ga ri sa ri ga ma ga ri ga ma pa. So the pa becomes like a very, very important note, the pivotal note around which the entire patterns can be woven in Kiravani. Whereas we see that the same Kiravani's Avaronam is maintained in Kalyana Vasantham. But when he abstains from using the Panchama in the Arohana, we see that the complete color of the ragam itself gets changed, and how each notes get their due importance. That is very important, because all the notes are there in the Avarohanam, but each one has got its own prominence. Like when the game of chess, we see how the pawn or the king or the queen, each of them have their own respective, kind of position in the whole chessboard. Like that here also we see that all the notes, though they are there, each one gets their prominence according to the ragam in which it is put. That is also a very important point, where we see that though the Sanidapa Magarisa occurs in Kiravani as well as in Kalyana Vasantham, in the context of Kiravani we see that the Panchama becomes a very important note in terms of being woven patterns around both in the Arohana and the Avarohana. Whereas in the case of Kalyana Vasantham, where we had Sagama Dhanisa and Sanidapa Magarisa, we see that the pa becomes like an incidental note, just a passing note, and the ma becomes very, very prominent. So these are all some things, like eye-openers, the composition guide us. That is why we always say that it is important for us, in order to understand a ragam. Just by my singing Sagama Dhanisa and Sanidapa Magarisa, you will not be able to understand Kalyana Vasantham, because you will really not know which are the Nyasaswaram, which are the Amsaswaram, which note can be elongated, which note has to be rendered in a very subtle manner, what is the gamakam. Everything for that we have the guidelines only through the compositions. And so, like I always say, among the compositions, again, the compositions of the Mummurtigal, Tyagaraja, Dikshadhar and Shama Sastri, they are a treasure in terms of giving us a complete insight, I would say, in terms of every ragam. Whether it's a very big ragam like a Kambodhi or a Kalyani or a Todi, or even a small ragam like the one I mentioned, Kalyana Vasantham, for everything we see that they have given us the guidance, they have shown us the path as to how to handle the ragam, and that way we are deeply indebted to all these great composers for the valuable compositions that they have given us in terms of guiding us through the journey of ragas.
CM 365, all about Carnatic music.